Hey guys, I apologise in advance if I seem a bit off in this video because the pollen is killing me off. But I need to film this video, so I'll try and edit out the sneezes, but we'll see. So this video is a little bit of a request and a little bit of a thing I was thinking about filming. Anyway, so shout out to Alex who made it go from a thing that I was kind of thinking about to a thing that I'm going to make because you asked for it. So today I'm going to be talking about how I organise things. I've spent quite a few years developing and evolving my organisational system. I always have a lot of things on in one go, so I just kind of wanted to share how I get things done, how I organise those things, how I time manage, in case it helps any of you guys. When my life changed from can just have a wall up on the calendar with a couple of dates on it and into a thing where I actually need to remember stuff for a few months in advance, or loads of things at once, I started using one of these. These are the Moleskine diaries. I prefer the soft ones. I've looked at so many different diaries over the years. I've looked at so many different makes and custom ones or whatever. These ones are my favourite. 2018, so this is a few years old. So the reason I like this one is for a couple of reasons. So if you can see this, is it going to be completely washed out? Let's turn the ring light down. There we go. So on this side we have the days, and on this side we have the notes. For me, this was crucial. I wanted, let's turn this light down a little bit, because I wanted to be able to put notes on this side, and I wanted to be able to have enough room on this side to fill it all in without it being a double page spread. So I wanted to have a full week on one side and a full blank page on the other, but I found the ones that go down, they don't give you enough room, and the ones where it's a double page spread, you only get a little box for notes on the end, which I didn't want. So this for me is the perfect setup. And the only thing I don't like is the weekends. You get half the amount of days. For me, weekends are more busy. During the week, it's usually pretty standard. I usually do the same thing. So I'll have a lecture at this time, or for this week I was in Vindolanda, so it's the same all the way through the week. And then the weekend, if I had plans, that was when it got more complicated and I actually ended up having less room. So the only thing I didn't like. But these are small and compact, and I would keep these in either my handbag or my pocket, during the winter when I had a coat with big enough pockets, for a year. And you can see that this is not, it's not in the best condition, but considering I carried this around every day for a year, it's pretty good. This would be, I don't know what this sticker's from, but sometimes I put stickers in them as well. So this was where I'd put just general appointments, things that I needed to do that week. This side is when it came to the proper organisational things. So I don't know why I always started this at the bottom, but I always did for some reason. This was my to-do list for the week. So these would be things that I didn't put on here that I just needed to get done at some point during that week. So I have finish giveaway, judge competition, make goodie bags, cut out guns. I have no idea what these referred to. I'm sure I had a very good reason for doing all of these things, but this was 2 years ago now. And I'd cross them out as I did them. So I'd put these in advance. Most of these were written in weeks in advance. So the way that I do this is if I know that I need to do something. So say if I had an event that I was planning and I had a series of steps that I needed to do before I got to that event, I would put one in every week for the weeks leading up to that event. Sometimes you'd have to do two if they were smaller tasks, so you had less amount of time, but that would be the idea. So I would know every week exactly what I needed to do, and it did mean that I ended up working on things a month before it happened, but it also meant that I had a lot of leeway if I was ill, if I didn't get it done that week, if I ended up having more appointments than I thought, and it also meant that I was never ill prepared for a thing because it was always in my mind even a good month before it happened. So yeah, this worked well when I didn't have that many things on. I was busy at the time, but most of the busyness was around my A-levels and things, so all of my work was done in a classroom setting, so I didn't really need to put the things in there. Or revision, I tended to not add revision because I just do revision in any and all spare time, so that didn't really count as spare time if I had a thing that I needed to do. So that was how I used to do it. When I got to university, things got a little bit more complicated and I changed it slightly, so I'm going to see if I can find that notebook. So this was 2019's book. 2019's book got a bit more bashed up because I took it on excavation for 2 weeks. And I've dropped it in a puddle, so it's a bit muddier. I have Vlogme. This one's one of the hardcover ones. I don't like the hardcover ones as much, but I couldn't find a softcover one when I needed it, so I bought hardcover one. Also has a Vote Labour sticker in it, so there's that. So this was when things started to get a bit more complicated. I don't know if I have many of these stickers left, but basically what I do is, as you can see, the lists got a lot longer, which means it was impractical to just say I'm going to do this whenever I have time during the week, because inevitably things would get missed off. So I started doing a thing where the way that I do it is I would write ahead. So if I knew that I had to do something next week, it would go on that list. If I needed to break something down into 3 tasks and I would do 1 task every week for 3 weeks, they would go on this list. There was things that would be on this list every week, so like film and edit a video would be on this list every week, and I would go through and write it in for every week for a couple of months in advance. And then when it came to the week, I would put these post-it notes in. So I don't know what these are. This one says Christmas market and things that I need to bring up at the doctor's. So on this side, so these are the days. And at the start of each week I would put a post-it note next to each day on the note side with the to-do list for that day. So it got more specific. It got less I need to do this on this day, and more I need to do this in this week, and more I need to do this on this day specifically, to make sure that everything got done. If I had a day where I was busy like 9 till 5, I would only give myself like 1 or 2 very small tasks to do that day. I tried to give myself something to do every day because it helped me feel more productive, but it would mean that I didn't give myself too much to do in a day, and if I had a day off I could give myself the bigger, longer tasks to do. In January I started doing to-do lists out of a to-do list notebook. If you follow me on Snapchat you'll have seen these. I will put some pictures here. So, this is this year's diary. It went to red, went back to the soft back. This is my favourite one. We have, as you can see, the list. Most of the time I take these out when they're complete, which is why a lot of them are missing, but usually they would be there for every day. But these ones I haven't taken out, probably because I didn't finish all the things that were on them. So I've made the list, so this was a very long list that week. As I've gotten older, these lists have gotten longer. So yeah, make the list. This one is the whole of the notes page, and then make the little post-it notes. But then at the start of like midway through January-ish, I got a to-do list notebook for my birthday, and I started making the lists in there. The advantage of this is that I could put more things on it, because obviously you can fit more on a full it was 14 lines to-do list. It meant that I could put things on there that I had to do every day but I didn't really consider part of my to-do list. So I put my physio on there, for example. I can't remember what else I put, just things like that, like take my medication or whatever, which meant that I could tick it off when I'd done it, so I was more likely to be consistent with it. So I much preferred making those longer to-do lists than doing it like that with these lists. I still use these lists, so I still use these lists to plan a few weeks in advance, but then at the end of every week I would plan the next week. So I'd write a to-do list for every day of the upcoming week, that could have up to 14 things on it instead of these, which you can only fit like 3 or 4 things on, or you have to like start a new post-it note. And it meant that I could put smaller tasks on, which if you are making to-do lists, would definitely recommend making to-do lists that have more things on, that like with like smaller tasks, so that you can cross them off and you feel better about your life. But I ran out. I finished the notebook, and then I bought this whiteboard, which I currently use. You can see that it has this week's to-do lists on and the things that I've done crossed off. Some things that I haven't done there. Actually no, I think I'm pretty up to date. Yeah, today's Saturday, so we're good. I've crossed everything else off. So I use one day for each day of the week, and then on the to-do list I write next week's things. Currently we're in lockdown, so I don't have really a lot of things to think about for next week. If I did, I'd start making the lists in my diary again, but I don't, so I just make it on here instead. So yeah, I've moved from the paper list to these. You can fit less on this than you can on the to-do list, but it's better for the environment and it's magnetic, and I can see the full week ahead in one plain sight. In order to remember to do things, if I get an email with something on, I will put it on tomorrow's to-do list. If I get time in the day, I will try and do it in that day, but most of the time, if I get a task, someone tells me to do something and it's not immediate, I will put it for the next day's to-do list, which means that it will probably, if you ask me to do a thing, it will probably get done in the next day unless I'm really busy, and then it will become a few days. So that's how I make sure that I do things. Things get written immediately onto the list. If I remember a thing that I need to do, if I think about a thing that I need to do, it gets put first thing immediately on the list before I do anything else. Gets written down somewhere, either in my diary or on that whiteboard, straight away. Sometimes that ends up meaning that towards the end of the week I have more tasks, because I will add it on to the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. So at the end of the week I end up with more things to do. I try and avoid this, but it happens. So when it comes to towards the end of the week and I have more things to do, this was yesterday's list, so I'll show you yesterday's list. I'm not going to show you yesterday's list because this page has bank details on it. This is today's list. So I marked down the hours, so I've gone 8 till 12. I did this last night. I looked through everything on that list and I put down what I wanted to do and an hour to do it in. So sometimes, so for example, I've given myself 2 hours to film this video instead of an hour. That's probably longer than I need, but I usually give myself longer than I need. And it doesn't mean that I have to spend all of those 2 hours doing it. It just means that between the hours of 4 and 5, I need to film a video. From some start of 4 o'clock till the end of 5 o'clock, which I guess is 6 o'clock, I have to film a video. That means if I do need to take a break at any point, I can do. Same thing with like some of these. So at 12 o'clock, I washed my makeup brushes. That's what I did today. That was on my list. Washing makeup brushes doesn't take an hour, but it took me about 20 minutes, which means at some point in that hour, I have to tick off that thing on that list. So I find that a day that's quite overwhelming, once you lay it out like this, is not that overwhelming. I also like to put things towards the end of the day so I can work out how long I get to sleep in, because my body doesn't work very well and I need lots of sleep. Video about that on my channel. So today I didn't start doing anything until 12 o'clock, which means that I could have a bit of a lie-in. So yeah, this is how I organise the day. Always give myself longer than I need, just because it's better that way. And you can also see if you're too over-ambitious. If you plan this out and you realise that actually there's not enough hours in the day to get this done, then it means that you need to reshuffle your list a little bit and give yourself a little bit more time. If you've done this in advance, if you've you've planned out everything like that, you should have that time to do it. The idea with doing this timetable as well is to have the least resistance. You want to never be thinking, or at least for me, what am I going to do next? At no point are you ever sitting down and going, what do I do now? Because as soon as you do that, that's when you only do the tasks that you want to do, or when you do nothing. For me, as long as I have a constant, you do this, and then we're doing this, and then we're doing this. So for example, I know after I film this video, I need to go pack. It's not even a thing I'm going to think about. Put this away, I'm going to start packing because I'm leaving house in a few days. Least resistance. You want to put up the least resistance to this as possible. So yeah, that's how I organise my life, and that's how I get stuff done. I don't know if this has been useful to anyone, but it was kind of a video I was thinking about doing anyway, and then it was asked for, so I'm gonna... yeah, I did it. Let's go sit back on the sofa before my legs start shouting at me. Yeah, I hope that was helpful to anyone. Let me know down in the comments how you do it. If you've made it this far in the video, tell me what your favourite type of notebook is. Where do you get your diary from, or your calendar, or do you use your phone? And also, while you're here, I'm going to ask you to check out my Depop. I made a video making some resin craft the other day. I've posted a bunch of practice pieces on my Depop. So yes, I'd very much appreciate it if you check it out and maybe buy a thing, or just like it. I'd accept a like, honestly. Or a follow, because I'm going to be posting way more stuff on there later. But I've spoken for like 17 minutes straight now, and I'm not sure how I'm going to cut this down because it's all just me talking, so we're going to end this. Didn't sneeze. See? Doing well. If you have any requests or questions, leave them down in the comments. New videos every Wednesday, like, subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you next week. And I have to get off the sofa again. I haven't planned this very well, have I? That's ironic in a planning video. Okay, bye.